Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Uncertainty surrounds the exact date of birth of Siddhartha Gautama, later known as the Buddha. He probably lived between 490 and 410 before our common era. He was born in the Republic of the Shakyas in northern India. As the son of the elected ruler, Suddhodana, he was known as Prince Siddhartha. When the time came for her to give birth, his mother, Queen Maya, left the palace in the city of Kapilavatthu with a small retinue and traveled to her parents' home. In India, at that time, it was customary for women to give birth in the midst of their female relatives. On the way, however, Maya went into labor and gave birth to a son in the forest of Lumbini, standing up and holding on to a tree. A few days after returning to her husband's court, she died. Her sister undertook to rear the child. Sages at the royal court pronounced that the physical attributes of the baby prince pointed to a great future. He would become either a universal ruler or an awakened one, a Buddha. Suddhodana wanted his son to become a great king, so he brought him up in opulent surroundings amid all the pleasures of the senses. He hoped to ensure his son's lasting attachment to the physical world and to prevent him from thinking about the meaning of life and later pursuing a spiritual path. Siddhartha grew up in opulent surroundings. His father had 3 different palaces built for him, one for summer, one for winter, and one for the rainy season. Inside the palaces there were beautiful lotus ponds. He wore the most costly robes, ate the most delicious food, and enjoyed music and all sorts of other entertainments. At the age of 16, he married his cousin, Princess Yasodhara, with whom he had a happy conjugal life. When he was 29, however, he began to wonder about life outside the palace walls. He took chariot rides to gardens outside the city. On the way there one day, he saw first of all a bent old man, then a seriously ill person moaning with pain, and finally a corpse being taken away for cremation. He was deeply shocked by the sight of such suffering. especially when his charioteer Channa impressed on him that it was an integral part of human life. Distressed, he continued his journey until he came across an ascetic at a roadside. He was struck by the man's aura of calm and serenity. The sight convinced him that there must be a way for mankind to free itself from suffering. He decided to give up his princely life and set off in search of this path. Just after taking this decision, he was told that his wife had given birth to a son. Wanting to see the child before he left the palace, he went to Yasodhara's room and found her asleep, with her arms covering the baby. He was afraid to wake her, in case he could not bring himself to leave afterwards. So he ordered his charioteer to saddle up his favorite horse. They rode to the river Anoma and crossed over. Siddhartha shaved off his hair and beard and gave his royal robes and jewels to his charioteer. He put on the saffron robe of an ascetic and walked out into the wilderness. Siddhartha withdrew from the world and visited a number of renowned sages. One after another, they accepted him as a disciple. They instructed him in meditation techniques and taught him all they knew. Siddhartha absorbed it all, but still did not find what he was looking for. He traveled on and met 5 other wanderers, with whom he then pursued a strictly ascetic lifestyle. He barely ate or drank and practiced extreme forms of self-mortification. After 6 years, he was nothing but skin and bone. Eventually, he collapsed. Regaining consciousness, he realized that extreme ascetic practices were not the right path either. A young shepherdess passed by and offered him some rice gruel, which he accepted. Disgusted, the other 5 ascetics went on their way without him. Siddhartha traveled to the woodland grove at Uruvela, where he sat down under a large fig tree and gazed to the east. He vowed to remain seated there and meditate until he had found a path to liberation. At this point, he was put to the test by Mara, lord of worldly desires. Mara summoned up an army of terrifying demons, but Siddhartha refused to be distracted by them. Then he brought his voluptuous daughters to seduce him. Again, Siddhartha remained unmoved. Finally, Mara asked what right Siddhartha had to clear a path for mankind to escape Mara's power. In response, Siddhartha stretched out his right hand to touch the earth and call on it to be a witness to the long path he had traveled. The earth assented with a tremor, and Mara departed. Siddhartha sank into deep concentration. At dawn, when the morning star shone in the sky, he achieved the enlightenment that he had sought for so long. He perceived the transience of all physical and mental phenomena, and saw that nothing in this world can exist by itself, independent from everything else. This brought a further realization that there was nothing to which he could cling forever, and that human beings had no immutable personal essence, no permanent self. As a result, all selfish desires were extinguished in him, and he was filled with loving kindness and compassion towards all living beings. He achieved Nibbana and became a Buddha. After achieving enlightenment, the Buddha remained in the woods at Uruvela for 7 weeks, contemplating his new insights. Then he traveled to the city of Benares, a major religious center in India. Outside the city, in a deer park, he met the 5 ascetics who had abandoned him. It was to them that he delivered his first sermon. One of the 5 immediately achieved enlightenment. He asked the Buddha to accept him as his disciple, and the Buddha replied, "Ehi bhikkhu," come, monk. Over the next few days, the Buddha continued teaching the ascetics, and the other 4 also achieved enlightenment, and subsequently remained with him as his disciples. They became the first members of his community of monks, known as the Sangha. After some time, he traveled to Kapilavatthu to share his insights with his family. His wife, Yasodhara, had kept track of his quest and had herself attempted to pursue the path of meditation. His son entered the monastic order as a novice. At the request of his aunt, who had brought him up, the Buddha also established an order of nuns. Later, when King Suddhodana died, Yasodhara and the Buddha's aunt both became nuns. After this visit, the Buddha spent 45 years traveling around the Ganges basin and instructing all who requested it. He taught all social classes and both sexes without distinction. At the age of 80, the Buddha told his disciples that he would not be with them much longer. Soon afterwards, he fell seriously ill, but recovered sufficiently to be able to travel with a group of disciples to Vaisali, a city dear to his heart. When they were leaving again, the Buddha turned back and gazed for a long time at the city, saying, "Now I shall never see Vaisali again." Not long after this, he suffered serious food poisoning. Even so, he continued with his disciples to the town of Kushinara, in the territory of the Malla tribe. There he asked them to prepare a couch for him between 2 sal trees. He lay down on the couch and announced that he was about to pass away. He told his disciples to summon the rulers of the Mallas, because it did not wish to die on their land without them witnessing this. Surrounded by his disciples and the mullahs, he asked 3 times if they had any remaining questions or doubts about his teaching. All remained silent. Then he spoke his last words. All component things are subject to change. Strive on with diligence. Then he entered into a meditative state and died. Trees shed their blossoms, and the birds stopped singing. The body of the Buddha was cremated, and his ashes were divided into 8 portions, to be given to the rulers of 8 kingdoms in northern India, and stupas were built to house the ashes. Let all beings be happy and secure. Let them be happy-minded. Whatever living beings there are, moving or still, without exception, whichever are long or large, or middle-sized or short, small or great, whichever are seen or unseen, whichever live far or near, whether they already exist or are going to be, let all beings be happy-minded. Just as a mother would protect with her life her own child, her only child, so one should cultivate an unbounded mind towards all beings, and loving kindness towards all the world. One should cultivate an unbounded mind, above and below and across, without obstruction, without enmity, without rivalry. Standing or going or seated or lying down, as long as one is free from drowsiness, one should practice this mindfulness. This, they say, is the holy state here.